Hello, I'm Aritz Diez Ornoz. I'm an architect and teacher in the University of the Basque Country. I'm actually teaching architectural design in the second grade, and I used to research on vernacular and classical Renaissance architecture. Vernacular architecture is important because it's the main group of architecture that is rooted in the place. They are the buildings that somehow creates our cities. They are somehow related with the people who lives in those communities, and it's an architecture that is somehow rooted also in the territory, in the materials that we can found in their surroundings, and it's somehow the most sincere and beautiful way of building. In this summer school we try to promote among students knowledge about the vernacular and traditional architecture. It is important because in this program we try to show them how architecture has been done and has been built since the very beginnings of humanity, and how these architectures can be still useful for our communities and for humankind in order to achieve a new equilibrium between our activities and the world. Somehow in this program we propose different projects in order to improve the towns where we are working on. And to do so, we try to understand first how the architecture of those places are. And because of that, in the very first week, we work with students and we visit with our students different places, different towns. We draw buildings, we make beautiful vignettes and drawings about focusing on the urban spaces of those towns. And with this work we achieve somehow a new knowledge of how these towns and buildings were built. And with all this material we'll try to transform them, use them to design new buildings for those communities. In this summer school we divide this use of drawing in these two very parts. The first one, drawing as a tool to understand the reality, to understand your environment, to understand the specifics of the architectures of those places. And in the second one, we use that same tool, drawing, in order to design our proposals and to express themselves, to share them with the community of those towns. In this program, there are not only architects. Usually we have also artisans, architecture students, also architects, people who come from other fields of the society, because architecture is somehow also an art of community. Architects are somehow the ones who can design or merge together the complexity of urban and architectural reality. But artisans are essential in order to build those vernacular and classical architectures. Also painters, photographers, people coming from the field of arts are needed in order to open minds and share different perspectives of those communities. And so how we try to take a wide group of different personalities in order to share also the values of vernacular architecture among all those people. I think that the strongest part of this summer school is that it merges together, it get in contact people all around the world that shares a common sense of thinking, doing and experimenting architecture. Somehow all of us have had some difficulties to share those ways of thinking and feeling architecture among our closest friends. But with this summer school, somehow you can find friends and very interesting people that somehow share common ways of understanding the architecture and understanding the relation between the architecture, the humankind, and architecture and the place. No, the main values is to promote that a more respectful architecture can be done, that an architecture respectful with the environment, respectful with the local communities, respectful with local architecture can be done in nowadays, and that the clues, the tips, the knowledge to do so is all around the world. It's on the vernacular architecture of each places, it's on the knowledge of the artisans, it is only in the work of those who has worked before and from which we can learn a lot. An architect has to be very respectful, very precise in his work, not trying to become himself the protagonist of the place in which he is working, but trying to adapt himself, adapt the buildings that he is creating, and root them in the character, the scale, the materiality of the places in which he is working on.